my fabulous crafty friends, it is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters, and today I am showing you how I made this super cute little card. Now to create this card, these two cards, because obviously you've got the one here that I'm showing you as an example, and then I'm going to make one with you. To create these two cards, I used a piece of cardstock that I folded down and trimmed to 4 by 6 inches. Now I've mentioned before, I like to cut my cards after I have folded them, because then I know that my lines will all match up. Often if I cut my cardstock first and then try and fold it, I end up with a winky wonky fold and my card isn't a perfect rectangle. I have then taken a 4 by 6 mat. So I have a piece of paper, matting, I have a packet of paper that are matting boards, and they're all 4 by 6 size. So I took one of those in that beautiful custard yellow color, and I trimmed it down to be 6 7/8 by 4 7/8. I then took this gorgeous floral and I cut it to be 4 3/4. 4 3/4 by 2 3/4. And the red piece of cardstock is 3 3.5, because there's a little bit of overlap. So 3.5 by 3 3/4. And they're going to butt up next to each other on top of the yellow mat. So basically you're going to be able to see this beautiful red sitting on top of the yellow mat board, linking up or joining up with that gorgeous floral on top of the yellow mat board. On the alternative card, it is exactly the same process, but the opposite dimensions. So on the alternative card, the one I showed you as an example, I have a green mat board, and the red is the smaller piece and the floral is the larger piece. Basically, it just meant that I didn't have any scraps of paper to throw away. I just used the offcuts, so to speak, to create its partner card. I hope that makes sense. You will definitely be able to see what I'm talking about when you see both of the cards together in the photos at the end. Once I have gone ahead and joined all that up, I am then putting some double-sided tape all the way around the front and the back of this card across that middle join. So there it is there across the front, and I'm just going to put a second piece all the way across the back, as straight as I can guess. Obviously there's no lines along the back. And now that that double-sided tape is there, I'm going to pull out a little bit of ribbon, and then the ribbon I'm using is going to be in the matching yellow color. Now that is purely just from my stash. I was just super lucky to be able to find a yellow that matched. Otherwise I just would have pulled a color that came out of the floral paper. So maybe a pink or a green, whatever I could find that was a complement to the florals in the paper. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie a little teeny tiny bow. You may want to cut yourself more ribbon than you need to do this, just so you're not trying to squeeze and fiddle around with just little bits of ribbon. It's easier to be able to cut off the excess that are sticking out from the tails later than to have to try and work out how to get your how to tie your bow with not enough room, if that makes sense. So I suggest you cut more than less, just to make it easier on yourself. Now I personally am not very good at getting my bows to go in a certain direction, so that is purely how the orientation of my card has been decided. So you can see there that the bow looks beautiful in that direction. So that's the way my card is going to open. It is going to be a landscape card, which I'm perfectly fine with. If I wanted a portrait card, I would need to make sure I could tie the bow to be in that portrait, so that it was facing in that portrait direction. And that is not one of my skills of designing the direction that my card is tied. Oh, my bow is tied, sorry. So once I have done that, I'm going to mat the card. So this whole yellow piece is now going to be matted onto the front of my cardstock, and that is beautiful and ready to rock and roll. So I do need a little sentiment for this. So I'm super lucky that my sister has lent me a bunch of her cards her stamping up stamp blocks. So this is going to be using a stamping up set called A Good Day. And there's a variety of little stamps on here, and most of them lend themselves to a round die cut. So I cut out a round circle, though if you are a stamper at all, you will know that I really should have done my stamping on the cardstock before I cut my round circle, but I am not a stamper, so that was new to me. The circle I cut was 1 3/4 inches. And then once I cut that, I got my little stamp, and of course I'm using one that says just for you. And I placed it on my We Are Memory Keepers all-in-one tool stamping block, which is super helpful, and I really like it. I barely mess up any stamping by doing this. So I'm just using a Memento teardrop ink in Nautical Blue. So just Memento Nautical Blue. And once I lined up my circle, I'm just pushing that down. And so you can see how it was a little bit tricky to line up my circle. I needed to, it would have been helpful if I had have let it dry and then just punched out a circle later. Now I'm going to attach that to the front of my card, and I'm actually going to pop it up on foam and put it on top of the ribbon. So I'm just going to use a little bit of foam to mount that, and then it's going to sit just underneath the bow. On this particular card, it is going to be bow at the top and sentiment at the bottom, but on the green version of my card, I actually have the sentiment at the top and the bow at the bottom. For no real reason. I'm not trying to be, change it up or anything like that. It was purely just what I felt looked the nicest at the time. So I hope you have enjoyed watching this process video. I hope it has made sense to you. A super quick and easy card that you could totally just give a try at any time. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you check out tomorrow's video for another open and process video. Thanks everyone. See you next time.